Yo, what's good with it? It's Music Monday. Let's get into it. What's up, y'all? It is your boy Kirk here at Kingdom Kids Media, where we help creatives grow in their faith, their craft, and become the best version of themselves. This is Music Monday. We talk about music. And in this video, we're actually going to talk about the most important, one of the most important plugins in your effects chain or whatever on every single channel. You should always have one of these plugins in there, at least one of them in there doing something, and one of these three techniques. I'm going to talk about three techniques with this important plugin, and that important plugin is an EQ. So let's check out the screen. There's so many different brands of EQ. The one that I'm going to talk about and the one that I'm using most frequently is the Fab Filter Pro Q. You can see there's a crazy EQ there, but there's a simple EQ here. You can see I have 3 on here. One is not being used, but I have 2. Check this out. So EQ, right? Let's talk about EQ. You're going to most commonly see a few different things on your EQ. You're going to see a bunch of numbers on the side here, like this, a bunch of numbers on the bottom. On the bottom, that's showing you the range of frequencies that are being shown here. Just because the range is being shown here doesn't mean that there aren't frequencies that are lower than this and or higher than this. So what we got here is 20 to 20,000 hertz. The human ear can only hear 20 to 20,000 hertz, right? And sometimes not even that. I think I can only hear up to like 16, 17,000, right? And I don't even hear below probably 80. I don't know. I don't hear that low. I guess I can hear 50, but I don't hear that low. So what I'm doing here, if you look at this EQ, I call this housekeeping. This is just what I call it because it's something that you should always do to kind of keep your mixes super clean. EQ is one of those things that will help you keep your mixes super clean. So the first thing that I think you should use EQ for on your tracks, and this is for anyone who's like a beginner. I know advanced people probably know this stuff, but even if you need to brush up, this is good for you too. You can cut out, with this, you cut out all the frequencies that don't need to be there that are lower and or higher than your sound, right? So I have this guitar here that has this sound on it. You can actually hear what it sounds like with... It's really quiet, I know. So that's what it sounds like coming in, right? And once I add this EQ, you'll actually be able to see what's coming in and what is there. So if we listen, you may not even be able to hear it. Yeah, there's nothing really going on up until about 70 hertz, even 80 hertz. So I cut out everything below that. We don't need this, so I can just disable that or even just delete it. There's nothing happening here, so I just cut it out. Even though it doesn't seem like there's anything happening, there are frequencies there that could muddy up your mix, so cut them out. Same thing with the high end. There's really not much going on up there, so I cut out that stuff. So now we have this nice controlled sound that sounds okay. That's great. I love that the Pro Q allows you to solo into that. So you can hear frequencies. So another way you can use this EQ is to sculpt the sound. That's part number 2, or reason number 2 you should be using EQ. Because you're sculpting the sound to fit into your mix the way that you want it to, right? So now I have this, this mix here. Let's hear what it sounds like. You know, we could turn these drums down. They're really loud because there's other effects on here that actually boost the volume. So we'll put the amp on just to get the tone. Sorry about that if it was clipping. So now we have this other EQ. This is what I use to sculpt the sound. Now, this EQ looks crazy. Okay, I admit it, but I didn't pick these frequencies. Pro Q was able to actually like learn these frequencies, and then you can freeze them there, and then you can pull them down. So what I love is that this is the actual guitar sound that actually sounds pretty good. we solo it, you can actually kind of hear what it's doing. It's just kind of tightening up the sound that is coming through, so that once I run it to the amp, it actually, the amp is able to use this really nice signal, and then I've already got distortion and shape it there. So another way that you can use EQ, and the third way that I think you can use EQ, is by doing effects. So have you ever heard like someone make something sound like it's in a telephone, kind of like that, or it just sounds like this? It's pretty cool. So if I take this amp, I'll turn the amp on. As opposed to this. Now, why would you ever do that to a sound? Because for effect, for creative effect. So if I was using that and I put a reverb on it, think about how cool that would sound. Sounds super dreamy. It just sounds really cool. So that's the three reasons why I think you should be using EQs in your tracks. Those are three reasons why. So those are three reasons why I think you should be using EQs in your tracks. One, housekeeping. Clean it up. Clean up the sound so that you're not worrying about it muddying up the mix. Two, shaping your sound. You really want to make sure that you're sculpting the sound to fit into your mix with the other instruments and play well together. Don't do that in solo. I recommend doing that with everything playing, and try, if you're able to put everything in mono, do that too. And number three, I was going to say four. What am I talking about? Number three, you can use it for effect. And you can add these effects on here that sound really cool. Telephone effect is actually a really cool effect. You can actually also if you have a vocal, and the reason why a lot of these sound kind of like cut out with the high end is because I plan on having a vocal on this thing. And I want the vocal to be super crisp, super clear, and not have to worry about competing with other frequencies in the high frequencies. So a lot of my decisions beforehand is to make space for the vocal. Whether that's my vocal or somebody else's vocal. I think a girl should be singing this song, but whatever the song ends up being. So that's three reasons. What the heck am I saying? That's three reasons why I think you should be using EQ on your tracks. Go ahead and use them. Use these common, these are just simple tools, simple effects, simple things to do that really makes your sound really good, and it cleans up your mixes. It'll take it from here to here. So if you haven't already, consider subscribing. More than subscribing, check out the other Music Monday videos. And then in the coming weeks, I'm also going to be putting out all my old Vandal videos that I had in my Vandal channel, which is going to be a little recap of how I made some tracks and how I made some songs. But yeah, thank you guys for subscribing. Catch you next week.